Daf is Daf Samach Vov. We're continuing the discussion that we had till now. So till now we discussed Rab, who came up with the idea that there's a different higher types of payment. That keren you pay ke'ein sheganav, what it was worth at the time you stole it, and all the penalties, kafel and all that, you pay at the time when you go to Bezdin. And we explained there are different opinions, the Rosh and others, how exactly that works, logic behind it. Then the Gemara limited a lot. If you fatten it or you caused it to dwindle in value, then we don't have this rule, and then so on. So and within going up and down in price, if you shecht it, we said it's only if it went up in price. If it went down in price, we don't say that you pay the original, the tzricha at the time when you went to Bezdin. You pay it earlier. Okay. So if it goes up in price, and just like Tavra Shasi Rabbah said, you pay what the price was when you broke it. Same thing in Shechting, you pay the higher price of when you pay even the principal of the higher price, because that's when you became the Ganef. Cemented your Gneva, according to Tzos, that's when you became a Mazik. So we are up to the Gemara over here. We're concluding this whole sugya and Samach Vav Amad Aleph about the last thing we learned was about Shinui as well. We introduced that idea, which we'll come back to soon. But 6 lines on top. But the Brisa tells us the animal transformed from a tzleh, from a sheep to a ram. The Brisa says when it comes to payment, you pay the original price. Just starting over here, and so we finish with Rav. Rav makes a difference. Rav makes a difference. Again, Rav said that the ket and the principal you pay according to the time what it was when you stole it, and all the other penalties you pay according to the time when you went to Bezdin, and according to the Rosh, Shchita is when you actually shechted it. And so we went to this whole Gemara yesterday, explaining Rav and delineating exactly when Rav says it didn't. But we brought a Brisa, and we had a discussion between Rabbi Loya and Rabbi Chanina about Shinui, and in the Brisa as well. So we digress, but in the Brisa is a question on Rav. And that is as follows, says the Gemara. In the Brisa clearly says, when you stole a tzleh, a sheep, and it became a ram. So the Brisa says, so the discussion was whether you still pay, there's a shinui there. The animal changed from a sheep to a ram. And then the discussion of Beloy Abchanin is, if there was a shinui, so the ganef now, does he own the animals? So if he shechts it or sells it, he's shechting his own animals. He doesn't pay that penalty of 4 or 5 times. And we say no. We say that that's not considered a shinui, is not koina. And therefore, it's a partial shinui, not enough to make it yours as far as the shechting to say it's your own animal. And we had these two Brisa, the Brisa that supported the second opinion, and we had an explanation and an argument between the two. However, that same Brisa says, but all the payments are based on what it was worth when you stole it. And the question is, Rav clearly said only the keren we base on when you stole it. Everything else is later. So the question is, Avalinya Shlumi, when it comes to payment, the Brisa clearly says, everyone holds Kidimikara, Mishalim. You pay the price of what it was when it was stolen. The Tani says, Mishalim Tashlumi Ketovit, Tashlumi Abba Chamisha Kain Shigana. It says that the double in there was some of else. But the double and everything else that you did, you stole based on what you did yesterday. And when you stole it, Lema to have it used to the Rav. Because the Rav said, Rav is the one who says, Keren Kein Shiganav. That Keren, you pay the price of what it was when you stole it, but Mishalim Tashlumi Kefil, Keren Shiganav Mishalim and Tashlumi Kefil, Tashlumi Dalvei, but the payments, the penalties is Kishas and Mother Bedin. And the logic we said, the Rosh gave a very interesting logic to remind you. The Rosh said that when you steal something, you have to pay straight away because you stole it. So when did that happen? When did that occur? That obligation, the moment you stole it. So obviously that's the value that we work with. But all these other payments, the penalties, you don't pay when you stole it. It's only when you go to Bezdin that Bezdin levies the penalty on you. But if you went to your maid and to Bezdin, you won't pay these penalties. So it's the Bezdin that levies these penalties. So when you get to the Bezdin, that's when they create the chiyuv, and therefore whatever value was then. And the Rosh then follows that theme, and he says, but when it comes to shechting, what creates that penalty is the shechting itself. So whenever that occurred, that's the value you put onto it. All the Achronim asked on the Rosh, if your logic was, because if you go to Bezdin and you would have been murdered, you wouldn't pay anything, even shechting. If you would, it's a knas. If you would have shechted and you went to Bezdin a month later, you'll be potted. Bezdin has to levy that penalty. So why should shechting be different? That you say shechting the value at the time you're shechting and everything else the value when you go to Bezdin. So they answer that no, it's not true. That if we have witnesses that you stole it, then later on you come to Bezin and you're moida that you shechted it, you will have to pay the 4 or 5 times. Because the only time we say you are potter is you're moida, you stole it, and that you shechted it. Oh, okay. Then we say that you don't have to pay. But if we know that you stole it and you're moida that you shechted it, you will pay. So therefore, it's not treated as a levy that Bezin places on you. It's more a levy that you placed on yourself. And the only reason why you popped it, if you're the one who admits that you stole it, is because then we won't charge you kefil double. At the moment we don't charge you kefil, then there's no longer 4 or 5 times. It's only 3 and 4 times. And the Torah says 4 or 5 times. That's why you popped it. So not because this is the knas part of it. Okay. Says the Gemara further. So how is Rav going to deal with this? Omar Rava. Rava says one line. And be machlekes how to understand this one line. Omar Rava. Rava says this. Let me explain how Rava works. This is how Rashi works. If you stole a lamb, and I'm paying you back with lamb, not yours because I killed it, whatever chef is, I'm paying you back with another lamb as a substitute, kidimikara. Then you look at the, in other words, even though the lamb grew up, became a ram, I don't have to pay you as a ram. I pay you what I stole. Exactly, this is a replacement. What did I steal? This is actually a replacement. Whatever it was, a lamb, I'm paying you with a lamb. It was a cab, I'm paying you with a cab. But dummy, I'm paying you with money. Then kishalachshel, then you pay the price of what it is today. Rashi doesn't explain what's the logic of that. Why should that be? He doesn't explain. So we have a big machlek in the Rishonim. Other ways of learning. Sorry,
makes sense.
Yeah, why? If it's a replacement, let me give you the money to buy a lamb. Why should I give you the money to buy a ram? So the Mephoshim try to understand, give some logic to it, find a little difficulty. But Rabbeinu Tam learns that it goes as follows. This is how he learns. Very interesting. He said yes. Tloyim means the case of the brisa where you stole a lamb and it became a ram. In other words, it increased the value. So where the value increases, then he said, and I don't care why it increased, because it itself changed naturally, or because the market forces increased. But where it increased, let's say it was $1 when you stole it, now it's worth $4. Then we say that the kefil and all those other things, you pay the original price. Why the original price? Because he said it doesn't make sense that the penalty should be greater than the principal. The principal was you're paying $1 because you stole $1, and you're going to make the penalty $4. Where does it say that the penalty should be? Okay, it's a penalty, and you pay double, but you pay 4 times the amount. That's not at all. We're not. So therefore, it says it many times. Loya means in a case where the animal improved, whether it became a ram or whether the market forces went up, then everything you pay the original price that you paid. Because since the principal you're paying the original price, it doesn't make sense that you're going to pay more for the penalties.
That's only if the penalty goes up more than 100%.
Even at 1 cent. If the lamb was worth $1 when you stole, that's worth $1.50. Your penalty is going to be to pay $1 for the neighbor and $1.50 for the 10 penalty. Yeah, the whole $1.50. So he says not fair. It doesn't make sense. So that's what claim means. Dumma means if it goes down in value. That was worth $4 when you stole it, and now it's worth $1. Then Rav says the principal you pay $4, and the penalty you pay the price of now. That's how the Rabbeinu Tam learns. But he has another shot, but that's okay. So that's how he learns. So let's go further. Now we finish with Rav. We're starting another subject we brought up yesterday, and that's called Shini. Amar Rav, Shini Kainu. You make a change, you are Kainu. Now we did mention yesterday that 2 levels of changes. One is called a Shini HaChayzu B'Yaseh, it's reversible, and one is Shini She'enu Chayzu B'Yaseh, it's irreversible. So Rabbi here is talking about a Shini that is reversible, and he's saying that even a reversible Shini is considered Shini, which means no longer the original item you stole, so I can keep it, and now I only have a monetary obligation to reimburse the victim. But when it comes to a Shini which is irreversible, that's a machlekes Beisil of Shammai, and we pass on the Beisil that it's a valid Shini. This machlekes Amaroim here, and machlekes later on, and in the Masechta is a reversible Shini. How do we treat that? Comes along, Rabbi says, Shinu Kainer. I hold Shinu is Kainer. Ksiva v'Tanin. It's written in the Torah, and V'Tanin we learned it. Ksiva says, we already have the pasuk we learned yesterday that Beis Hillel learns from if you give a donation, a present to a harlot, you're not allowed to put it on the mizbeach. And it says in the pasuk, Shneihem. So Beis Hillel Dashans take the word Shneihem and break it up into 2 words, Shnei and Haim. Haim, only the original a product that you gave her cannot be used for the base hamikdash, but a derivative, or if there was a change in it, there's an alteration in it, then that could be brought under the bear. So from there you learn shini is kind of. And now Rabbi says I have a second pasuk. So the first pasuk is talking about an irreversible shini, like it talked about their wheat that became flour. These are irreversible. You can't take flour and turn it back into wheat. And I'm going a step further. Why do we need a second pasuk to tell you that even a reversible shini is also kindness, no longer the item that I stole, and therefore I give you back money. It said the Hechel. Obviously, you stole, you should return it. Why do you have to say the item you stole? Well, I'm going to return somebody else's item. As long as in the original condition you return it, but if it's not, you only pay back money. And I'll bring you a right from a Bryce from Mishnah. Tanina, we learned somebody stole wood, the awesome kalim, and turned them into pots. Sema wool awesome begodim, and turned them into clothing. Mishalim kishas exela. These are reversible. We're talking about a case where these are reversible shinui. And still it says here, you pay, you don't get, it doesn't return the item. You no longer return the item because there was a shinui. I owe money. And the money is like the original money. And then Tesh already asked before, so what's Rav's chiddush that you pay the principal like the original one? It says right here the same thing in the Mishnah. So we say that all these Mishnahs, the Rav's purpose was not to tell us that principal you pay the original amount. His main chiddush is that the penalties you pay the later amount from the time of the bezin. That's his main chiddush. Or inami, another din. The din is that you have 5 sheep. You have 5 sheep and you share the wool. You have a mitzvah that the giza should go, all the shearings from the 5 sheep, a certain amount goes to the kohen. But what happens? You made a she'inam. Like he speak litnula. You already had the sheep, but you didn't have a chance to give it to him. Achetzova. You died all the it's no longer the original condition. Potter, you are potter from giving it to the kohen. Alma, what do we see from here? Shinu kohen. Clear. My next point is Yeyush. Amri Rabbanan. I say that Rabbanan say Yeyush kohen. I'm not sure that I said Rabbanan. And what's my question? Either I said, if it's the Torah, you found an object. If I found somebody's object and have a mitzvah shavas aveda, then the guy abandoned hope. I still have the mitzvah shavas aveda. Does not take away the mitzvah of aveda. You're yayish. But if I picked it up at the yayish, I can keep it. I can keep it. So see, yayish makes it ownerless. So the same thing here by Gizela. I stole something in the yayish. It should maybe be mine. Or I can make a distinction. Over there, the years took place before I picked it up. And by the Geneva, the years took place after he already took it. So therefore, maybe Geneva is different. The year doesn't work. Either I said, when you find something, if the owner was abandoned hope of ever recovering it before you picked it up. So we see that Yehush is effective. We learned from a pasuk where it says that the thing came down, but if it's lost to him and to the whole world, we say that anybody can keep it. An idea because of Yehush, and then we extrapolate from that any Yehush that if you know for sure the guy abandoned hope, you can keep it. Is that's and Teja learns from somewhere else from Suma, the Salma. Hainami keeping the Yash more. So the same thing here. You stole it, now the owner of the Yash, you can keep it. Al Makani, you're our kind of. But Dimaladam, you cannot compare. Laveda. Avedu, he was already Miyayish before you picked it up. So when I picked it up, it was Beheta. Al Hai keeping the Basuras the Yadi. When I picked it up, I was a Ganef. And I have a mitzvah to return it to you. So maybe Mahatoida. The Yehush is not effective. The Yehush is not effective here because I already have the obligation to return it. But maybe they say, what, the Yehush should be effective and pay back money. You know why? You want to make it easier for the Ganav to do tshuva. We want to make it easier. If he already did something with it, it's too big of a bother to return this. You will never pay back the guy. Because you know what? If it's too difficult, if you made a shini, you put in your roof or something, keep it, but you owe the guy money. And this way, they'll do tshuva. Taste already asked all of them question. What's the Gemara saying? How could the Gemara want to compare Yeyush after you stole it to Yeyush Aveda, which was only effective before you took it? What might even have a minute? Why would Rabbi you want to compare it? So Taste makes a big chiddush here, which is a discussion is all right. That Yeyush is effective by Aveda. If you found something and the Balabosim Yesh afterwards, true, I have a mitzvah shows Aveda, I no longer have to give you back your item. I can give you money in this place, which is a big chiddush of Taste. But the point is, according to Tosfos, that the Rabbah Hafiz holds that Yehush is effective even by Aveda after you took it. No, you already have a mitzvah shows Aveda, it's effective. So by Geneva also, it's effective and plays out differently. That that you can keep that same thing. You can keep the object itself. Or on the other hand, because Yeush generally is mainly effective when you didn't pick it up, so therefore maybe it's different than Gneva. Why is it different than Gneva? Maybe because Aveda, the moment I picked up something, I didn't steal it, I picked it up, it really should be mine. But there's a mitzvah, an overriding mitzvah to give it back. So therefore, when the Valbos is Meyayish, once I have it, it removes the mitzvah of Hashava from this particular object. Masha ain't gained by Geneva. By Geneva, it's not just to have a mitzvah of Hashava, but like the Nesivis that we learned yesterday, every minute I'm holding on to it, I'm continuing to do an Aveira. The fact that I'm in my possession, I have your object, that's the Aveira of Gzela. It's not just the moment I took it from you, it's every minute I'm holding on to it. I'm doing an Aveira L'Sigzel. So even the guy is Miyayish is too late. The fact that I'm still Aveira L'Sigzel, I got to give it back. It's not just I have an overarching mitzvah called return the object. It's more that which is what the Torah means. It's more that every minute that I have it, I am Aveira L'Sigzel. So even though you're Miyayish, that doesn't take away the Aveira that I did. So therefore, maybe it's different than by Aveda, and that's why over here the Matera Yesh doesn't work. That's the two sides of the coin. In fact, that could very well be the question: is it Tzos right or is it the Sivas right? Is Geneva just like Aveda? Once you stole it, all I have is a mitzvah of returning it. So therefore, just like the yesh is effective when it comes to Aveda, that you no longer have to return the original items money. The same thing is affected by Geneva as well. Or do we say no? Or do we say like the Tzos that every minute that I'm holding on to it? All I can say is that every minute I'm holding on to it, I'm over sigzul. So it's very different than Aveda. There, all you have is a mitzvah shava, and therefore once you're in a yayish, it takes away the mitzvah shava from this very item. I just have I have a mitzvah personally to pay it back. But by Geneva, let's say you take away the hashava, but you're still over the sigzul, and you got to go back to take away that. Okay, maybe that's shot. Taisus also wants this big machlekes, and Taisus here opens up this can of worms, or Pandora's box. If Yush is the same idea as Hefker, or is it very different? If Taisus says, if I make it Hefker, if let's say somebody stole something and I make it Hefker, then it's Hefker. So why shouldn't Yush work? Or what's this question here? He says, Mekan, from here we can learn now that Yush works very different than Hefker. Hefker is, I'm giving it away to the world. Yush is, I'm walking away from it. So, which is very different. I'm not giving it to anybody. So by Hefker, I'm giving it away to the world, even if it's sitting in the Gazan's house, I'm giving it to whoever. But yes, I'm walking away. My walking away doesn't help the Ganav. He still has a mitzvah of returning it. If I gave it to him, then there's nothing left to return. So, but if I walk away from it, then he still has the ability to return it. So Tesa wants to say that Yerush is not like Hefker. Here there's a big discussion. Some say that Yerush is not really effective until somebody picks it up and keeps it legally. So till then, it's still the original owners. Others say the moment you abandon it, it's no longer yours. Why? Because you have to learn you gave it away to the world. Because if I walk away from it, how does that become no longer mine? You have to counter the kinyan that I made originally, that I made it mine. I did an act to make it mine. Okay, so that's the discussion.
As well. If you were walking and you found it, you pick it back up, right? So you're not really giving it away.
Who, the original owner?
Yeah.
The real way is you have to have two Adim so that they can have more of
I'm saying if he really was giving it away, if he found it again afterwards, he wouldn't pick it up.
He's giving away to anybody, so he's no different than anybody else. He's giving away to the whole world. He's not part of the world. Yeah, so that we actually have more crisis talks about that. I'm sure Hanisko and turn out the Ainu was saying and what happens, and somebody else. Yeah, beautiful trust in that. About Rebbe also is Pesach. Okay, now and Rabbi Yosef disagrees. Rabbi Yosef Yesh ain't kind of Rabbanon. He says Yesh not kind of law. So big machlek is a shayim who's a halacha like Yesh not kind of you ain't kind of Rabbanon. So the Rosh rules, and this itself is a big argument. You make this quick. The Rosh rules like Rabba that Yesh is kind of, but only with the Rabbanon. Then the Rosh comes along and says that if a man stole something and gives it to a woman, and the owner was Miyayish, and he gives it to a woman for Kedushin, she's Mekudesh. She's Mekudesh. And then the Rosh goes further. Why is she Mekudesh? Because it was Yehush, and Halacha said like Rabba Yehush is kind of the Rabbanon. So, and then you gave it to this woman as Kedushin to get engaged. Gave something value. But then the Rosh goes a step further. Not only is she engaged to you with the Rabbanon, she's actually engaged to you Mahat Torah. And that is as follows. If somebody stole something and then he sold it to somebody else, that person who bought it If it was before years, then we're learning later on. Neither of them own it. The original will have a geisel. The original guy can go pick it, take it back. But if you there was first Yeush and then you sold it, that person can keep it because it's Yeush and Shinirishus. It was used by the Ganef, even though the Ganef doesn't help the Ganef because he has to return it. But then it came to the next person, he doesn't have to return it. Says the Rosh. So since you gave it to the woman, so there was used by the Ganef, Taktoni Rabbanon, but now they gave it to the woman, the Shin Rishus. So Mahatayra, she can keep it now. She has no mitzvah of giving it back to the victim. So therefore, I gave her Kedushin. The Magen Mishnah, the Kamar and the Rambam argues, he says she's not Mekudesh Mahatayra. And the argument is boils down to the following. And we once discussed in Kedushin, but on different subjects, different scenario, but the same idea. Is the main thing of Kedushin that you give something to this woman, or the main thing of Kedushin is that she receives? Here, the Ganav gave nothing because he didn't own it. The Shini Rishus took place by the woman. So she received something of value, but I didn't give. The Russia, that's good enough. The Magen says it's not good enough. That's the simple way of understanding the two. But there's another way of understanding the two. A big argument in Halach between the Rambam and other Rishonim. What happens if the order is reversed? What happens if first you gave it, first you sold it, and then afterwards was Yesh? No, but the Shini Rishus and then Yesh. What happens then? So many Rishonim, most of them hold, no, it's only effective when first it was Yesh and then you gave it to the buyer. But the Rambam says clearly no, makes no difference which order. And the Ksasa Chayim explains what's the argument. How do we understand the idea of a Shini Rishus? Is the idea because if there was Shini Rishus first, so then when you Yayish, the Hetera Asaliyadi, what's obstructing the years taking effect? Because it came to my hand illicitly. But over here, there was Shini, if there was years first by the Ganef, and then he gave it to the person, when that person took it, it came in a legal way. So therefore, that person can keep it. But if it's the reversed order, then that person also took it when it was illegal, was stolen goods. So therefore, it doesn't work. But the Rambam learned according to us that Shini Rishus is a kinyan no different than Shini Hashem, which we learned yesterday, changing the name, or Shini Maisa, changing an activity. Shini Rishus is another form of Shini. And therefore, if Shini Rishus is like a kinyan, what do I care which order it is? It is effective. So therefore, based on that, we go back to the Rosh Magen Mishnah. The Rosh holds that the Ganef gave something as well, because there was used by the Ganef, Shini Rishus by the woman, but we just said it makes no what do you call it? The Ganef himself, even though let's say there was Shini Rishus first, and then Yush. The fact is that it belongs to in that case, it belongs to the Ganef as well, because he made a kinyan by giving it to her, so he has a hand in it. He gave her something. And the others say, no, that the whole idea of Yisulas Liyad is only work. In other words, they want to say the argument that Rosh Hashanah is talking about where the Yerush took place when it was in the woman's domain already. And there's an argument whether the woman is Mekudesh or not Mekudesh. The Magen Mishnah, the woman is not Mekudesh. Why? Because it came into her hand illegally. It was the years took place later. But the Rosh is saying no, that even then it's good because Shini Rishus alone is effective. It's already a Shini, and I made that Shini. The Ganef made it by giving it to another person, and therefore I did give something of value to the woman. And let's get back to the Gemara. We'll now discuss this idea of Shini Kaida. So the first Rabbi Yosef asked Rabbi a question. You Rabbi say Shini is Kaida. Let me ask you. Somebody stole chametz and Pesach went by. He can tell the victim he stole some very expensive whiskey. He can tell the nigzel, how did you take it back? Now I can take it back. If the bottle was destroyed, I actually have to reimburse him. But if the original item is still there, I say, here, take yours back. Now the question follows: Hi, Kivin the Mata Eden Asura. When it came Pesach and the original owner saw that he didn't get the whiskey back, it's Pesach, it's Chametz, so he abandoned hope of ever getting it back. Now you're telling me you're telling me Yesh Koine. Then what right does he have to say take it back? The moment the original owner said I am a Yayish and it's sitting now in the Goslin's possessions, who owns the bottle of whiskey now? The Goslin. So how can he get back to how can he pay? He stole a $200 bottle of whiskey, and how can he pay back with a bottle of whiskey and I have to pay something which is worthless? How can he say he has to pay back good money? He said, Kika Amina no. When do I say Yesh is kind of where the Goslin wants to keep it and the guy abandoned hope? So I say, well, Yesh kind of. Here you think the Ganef even though he's a Ganef. You think he wants to have chametz in his house on Pesach? High over here, Zem is Yais. You think he wants to be kind of the thing is it has no value. Big discussion over here. The Gemara's question here is the Ganef now is kind. But you cannot be koine isuri hana. Isuri hana, which means since Pesach, it has no value. So what do we say? What's that question? Since the owner now on Pesach abandons hope, it transitions from the domain of the nigzel to the domain of the gazan. That means the gazan now acquires it. But you can't be koine isuri hana just by sitting.
Since a few minutes before.
So yeah, one of the first you want to learn. He already knows a few minutes before Pesach is not coming back, so he abandoned hope right before Pesach, and that's when the Gan is very good. Okay, next Gemara. Abai asked Rabbi a question. Now Abai, of course. Now, what's good over here, he asks questions to everybody, so he doesn't, pick and choose. Abai first to Rabbi. You say that Yesh is kind. I got a problem. Abai, it says in the pasuk that a person should bring his carbon. If your carbon is an oil, it says carbon, no, your carbon. What do you mean your carbon? Say im oil carbon. Carbon, as if to say yours and not somebody else's. Like you didn't steal it. Loy hagaz, not you didn't steal it. No, we would have thought that stolen. Right now, we think the puzzle don't you steal an animal. We would have thought that if I consecrated and dedicated to the base of English, it's a valid carbon. So the puzzle says no carbon. Now the question is, why would we even think without the puzzle that if I steal an animal that I consecrated, it becomes a carbon? What are we talking about? If we're talking about the owner wasn't it's not my animal. Why would you think lama likra shita? It's your animal. I should be a carbon for yaitz. It doesn't make sense. The original owner was Miyayish. The original owner was Miyayish, and so the chayda I should be able to bring in the carbon. The pasuk he can. Why does the pasuk say he can? Shema mino yesh lakanim. We have clear right that yesh is not kind of right because otherwise it is carbon. How can you exclude the gazan from bringing the animal? If you're telling me that yesh is effective, you Rabbi tell me it's effective. So whose animal is it? It's the gazan's animal. So when the pasuk says karbonai, the gazan can fulfill the mitzvah by karbonai. The first mass, the Shani mass, isn't a mitzvah haba ba'avera? You stole it, and now you want, like we learned, you're not allowed to steal a lulav to make a bracha. You stole it, and now you want to bring it as a carbon. So Taisus explains here and Gittin and other places that when is the mitzvah avera, the avera and mitzvah are happening in tandem. Over here, the avera took place when you stole the animal, and now you bring a carbon. Aveda is no longer there, so therefore it's all right. Okay. Amalei Rabba, so Rabba said back, or others say Rabba, but the taimech. So let me ask you questions. You understood it's talking about you stole an animal and you consecrated it. So your logic, tell me how you learn here. Tanya, we learned it says in pasuk, if a person whose tummy touches his bed, then you have to rinse the clothing and go to mikvah and so on and so forth. And you tell me that night. So it says mishkavoi if he touches his bed. So it has his. So not if it's stolen. That if it's a stolen bed and I'm tummy a person, I cannot make this bed tummy to be tummy a person. Only if it's my bed. Now, according to you, I saw. What do you mean my bed? According to you, I took an animal, I made it hegdish. So what would be by a bed? I made it into a bed. So what I steal, I store the raw materials and I turn it into a bed. Anybody holds a shini mice to such an extent, you're not kain, and this is a strong shini mice. Everyone holds a kain. Or if not even everyone holds a kain, at least together with Yish, everyone holds your kain. Ella, what are you going to say? The Gazal Mishkan Chavi. He stole the pasuk telling you Mishkavoy, but if he stole someone else's bed, it doesn't work. The Gazal carbon Chavi. You thought he stole an animal and he consecrated. No, he stole a carbon of his friend. It was already an existing carbon. The Ganef is not making a carbon. It's already existing carbon. And the pasuk says carbon. So what's the pasuk trying to tell you? Rashi has two pshatim. One is not only you're not Yaitz, of course not Yaitz. It's his animal, his carbon. Even the original person is not Yaitz. Because I'm not doing it for the sake of the person. When the guy brings his carbon, what's his intention? For himself. So the pasuk tells you that not only you're not Yitzhak, of course, not only a pasuk that the original owner is not Yitzhak at all with that what do you call it? And the chiddush is even if the guy did not have himself in mind, he just brought the animal to the base and made here, take this carbon. So the chayda, you might think, now that you didn't have in mind anybody, maybe it should be effective for the person who already owned the animal, because they should know who owns the animal, and that person should fulfill the mitzvah of bringing a carbon. Kamashla carbon noi. That only if you bring in your own carbon, not if Gazal brings it on your behalf. That's Rashi's first shot. The other shot is that no, we're talking about after Yesh. We're talking about after Yesh. But nevertheless, The Ganav cannot be kind of why? You cannot steal a carbon, just like you cannot steal property, because the crack hagging is you cannot steal a carbon. You know why? Because who owns a carbon? Once you consecrate it, who owns the Eibishter? The Eibishter is everyone. So therefore, you cannot steal a carbon. It doesn't work. Okay. And Rashi makes a big finish, and he learned faces here. The argument and other shayim. Rashi holds if if the Talmudic person has someone else's bed, it does not become tummy to affect tumah touching a person. And the only explanation I have in the Rashi says what a chiddush. So the only it's a custom. So okay, back to the Gemara. Now Abaye turns to Yosef. So you can't really tell. This is like a lawyer. We have no idea what Abaye's opinion is. First, he attacks Rabbah for saying Yesh is kind of. Now he's going to attack Rabbi for saying Yesh is not kind of. Anyway, is the hide of the din is that if you have hide, as long as it's still being worked, it cannot receive tumah. It's only when it's a keli, only when you completed whatever the work you want to do. You want to get a pair of shoes. Once you completed the shoe, then it's now ready to be received, become tameh. If you're working on the shoe, it's not completed yet. It's not kabel tumah. It's not a keli yet. So Abaye said again. The hide of a balabais. A guy came along and stole hides. So what happens? Sorry, before we get to God. If he decided at the current condition, you have a piece of hide, I'm happy with it. I'll use it as a tablecloth. I'll use it as a tray, or so on. Then the moment he thought that's Gemar Malacha. You complete Malacha, even though you didn't do anything physically. It now is ready to Makabel Tumah. Right? Because it's daily now. Hold up to your mind. Vishal Avdon. Let's say if it's a tanner's hide, which means you're not keeping it yourself, you're producing it, you're producing something, then machshava metamasim. Then machshava is not good enough. Because what if tomorrow a customer walks in and says, "Hey, I'll turn that into a shoe," you'll do it. So it's not final until you actually sell it, or you make a complete keli. Machshava alone is not going to do it. So you have to do a ma'aseh to complete it. What about shalganif? What about a ganif? Now, Machlek is the Tanaim here is going to be which one, generally speaking, according to this Tana, if somebody stole something, you have no idea you stole it, you're miyayish. How in the world you can find the guy? You call the police, they'll write it down, but you don't do anything about it. A Gazlan, I'm not giving hope. I know who Gazlan is. Hopefully, I'll find a court that's not scared of him, not intimidated, and go ahead. That's one opinion. The other view is the other way around. A Gana, if you want to abandon hope, because you know the guy is scared because he came in discreetly, and hopefully you'll find him and he'll confess. When it comes to Gazlan, he's so brazen and intimidating, you're probably scared to chase after him. So that machlek is if which one is stam yayish. The Tanna Kama holds Shalgana, generally the Baal Boss is miyayish, right? He has no idea who to go to. Is machshava mitamasam. The ganef then just yish alone. The ganef now, if he has the hide and he thinks to himself, okay, I'm going to use this as a tray, whatever it is, it completes the keli. Why? Because he's the owner. All that happened here was yayish. So what is he clearly from here? That Yesh is kind of Kashan of Yosef. If Shagazan ain't machshava mitamasam, but Gazan you're not miyayish, you don't abandon hope. You hope to recover the goods. So therefore, the Gazan's machshava doesn't do anything. And Shimon holds chiluf advar another way around. He holds Gazlan. Generally, you give up hope because you're scared of a Gazan. Machshava mitamasam, Shagazan machshava mitamasam. Why? If he shaloi this yayish by the bottom line is they're only arguing about which one you miyayish, but both agree one thing in that principle. Shema and Yesh kind of. That if you ban hope, the Gazan for the Gazan now is the new owner, and their thoughts count. You know what we're talking about here. You did more than just a machshava. It was yeush, and you did a ma'isa. You changed it. You cut it down. You cut it down to size. So therefore, what we have here, we have a yeush together with shini ma'isa. Yeah, both. We're talking here not about you're making a shoe or you're making something that has to fit a size. We're talking about an itzra like a tray, or a table or something or a mat. The itzra ain't and a mat doesn't have to be exact. So whatever shape it is, you're happy to eat on it. So you don't need. Where's the shini ma'isa here? Could it not? How do I know that? Because it's clear in the Mishnah. Whenever there's not lacking any further work, thinking that this is the completed job, I'm happy to leave it the way it is. Then your machshava finalize it. Yes, chsar malacha, but where there is a chsar malacha, if there's still more work to be done, then the machshava is not good enough. Chutz min itzvah, there's more work to be done. You can cut it down, trim it, make it nice, put embroidery or make it square, whatever it is. But nevertheless, it can be used exactly the way it is right now, as a tray, as a mat. So therefore, if you have machshava, this is it, then it comes to me. So where's the shinim? My question goes back. You see, clearly, Yesh alone is good enough. Elam Rava. I Milsa Koshbe Rabba Rabbi Yosef. Now this is fascinating. This question was asked Rabba to Rabbi Yosef Esin V'Tartishni. It asked for 22 years. And what happened was Rabba was 18 years old and Rabbi Yosef was much older, and they wanted to appoint Rabbi Yosef as Rosh Yeshiva. And Rabbi Yosef said, no, Rabba should be Rosh Yeshiva. The Gemara in Hari says that Rabba was an Oiker Harim and Rabbi Yosef was a Sinai. And they wanted the everyone needs the owner of the wheat, the owner of the granary. We wanted Rabbi Yosef, but Rabbi Yosef was very humble, and that's why in the end of the Seiti he says, like Tisra Anova Anova, don't learn Anova, look at me. I gave up the mantle of leadership, I gave it to Rabba. But Rabba passed away at a young age of 40 because he was a descendant of Eli HaKohen, and there was a curse. So was Abaye, but Abaye gave tzedakah as well. Chasadim and Rabba didn't have time for that, so Rabba passed away at the age of 40. When he passed away, Rabbi Yosef assumed the mantle of leadership. And it says all those 22 years, Rabbi Yosef never called the doctor to his house. He would go to the doctor because he didn't want to behave like he was Rosh Yeshiva, even though he was a Rosh Yeshiva, because everybody accepted him. And, we wanted to accept him, but no. So Rabbi asked the question of 20 years. Rabbi Yosef didn't have an answer. So why, if Yehush is not koine, what's the shot over here? The machshava by a god of gods and works. Had the Yosef Rabbi Yosef Bereish Rabbi came to Rosh Yeshiva. And he answered now. Shini Hashem kishini Maisa. You're right. You did nothing physically, but no longer now it's called a piece of hide. It's called now a trade, and that name change is what is sufficient. And Shini Hashem over here, but talking about a weak Shini Hashem, it is reversible because you can always change that tray, make it a shoe or something else. But I never thought together with Yehush, it works. Rabbi Yosef answered. Rabbi Yosef he answered. Rabbi Yosef answered to Rava. Because it says Eloma Rava. So obviously he's talking out to students. And what happened? Took 22 years, what happened? What changed? So all the Mepharshim say, when a person becomes a Rav, suddenly he has new Nevi'ah Samaychim. Things come into his head, he can figure things out. Like there used to be a contest. Every time a Rav would come, they would give him all kinds of questions on fruits. For example, Birchas Hanenim. And the Rebbe Yehuda made a mistake. But he told them, it says in the Gemara clearly that when you become the Rav, you have Siyata D'Shmai. Make him the Rav, and then let's see what happens then. There's actually Torah and Tam studying the same thing. They tested him with fruits. They gave him 2 fruits, a whole apple and a half an apple or half a fruit, and they gave him I put a bowl in front of him. You should make a bracha, and he took the half a fruit. So they all said to him, "Hey, you failed because the din is we're having more brachas that you're supposed to make it on the whole. The bracha has to be chashav on the whole thing." So he says, "You guys are wrong. It says clearly that when you're a guest in somebody's house, you're totally subservient to the owner of the house. You guys put a whole fruit and a half a fruit. You didn't give me a knife. It's clear you wanted me to eat from the half a fruit, not the whole fruit. So how can I make a bracha on the whole fruit? Be a ganef." Okay, sometimes you're a bit too smart for the people there. They don't like that either. Anyway, but I think there's another shot here. And to be honest, I don't remember if I ever saw this when I was younger or I thought of it. I don't know. So I won't say Dovish Moimre. Could be either one. Shot very simple. Rabbi Yosef said, like Lahavdil Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name is still a rose. A name is chitzonius, it's extraneous to you. Who cares what the name is? Why should it have any bearing on the item itself? A shini maisa, you altered the item itself. Okay, but or even shini rishus, according to the Ktaz, you alter the ownership. Here you did nothing. Shini Shem, the name changed. So what? But 22 years later, he became Rosh Yeshiva, and he felt so differently. He suddenly felt like a yeshiva. He was potential yeshiva for 20 years. People come to him all the time. But as soon as his name personally changed, he felt a change. He said, a name is a lot more than just something superficial. It actually is effective. So now he said, Shini Shem Kishini Maisa. Anyway, Shini Maisa, my timer. What's the reason why Shini Maisa is effective? Mikara ate some hashtaken. First it was wood, now it's a vessel. Shini Shanami, Mikara Kari Mashka. The same as Shini Shem. Before it was called a piece of leather, a hashta, and now it's called a tray. The Hari asks a beam, a beam, there's a name change. Why? Mikara is called Kshura, a beam is called a Kshura. The Hashta, now that's in the roof, and the ceiling is called Tawla. There's a name change. And yet, it's now we learned, Al Hamadish HaGozel, if somebody stole a beam, Shabbat bit, and he placed it into his house, into the ceiling, that even though it's still present, he doesn't have to remove it. Because we want to make sure he encourage the guy to do tshuva, make it easy, so he's reimburse him. Time, but the only reason why we say that you pay money, what do you mean? Not for that reason, you return the beam. But it's a name change. Before it was called a pshura, and now it's called a talala. And if your Shina Hashem is effective, even forget to on Shabbat, you don't have to give it back. Rabbi Yosef, Morish Mayolov. Even after it was built in the roof, it still has the same name as originally. It's still called the Morish. The Tanya, because we actually learned in the Brisa. It says in Pasuk that describes the windows in the base of Mikdash and everything else. It says the windows were blocked up. Salos of bias, and the side of the bias, Elu, and it says in the Brisa. The side of the bias, Hamalatitin, the side of the bias, Hamalatin, it's like a frame. They made frames in the side to make windows. The ubim elu hamarishis, and the ubim, these are the Bryce explained. What's ubim? The pasuk says ubim. They built over there tzalos abayim. Ubim tzalos abayim. They put frames, and ubim they put beams in the thing. Elu hamarishis is talking about the Bryce is talking about the beams already put into the roof. And what does the Bryce call it? Marishis. So we see that it has the same name before you put it in the roof and after there was no Shinei Hashem. And we'll continue tomorrow. Okay, continue. Be welcome. Have a good